Hello, everybody, and we're back for another solo episode of Chatting with Candace. On this week's episode of The World Has Gone Mad, the Olympic Games. I think everyone is talking about that opening ceremony. I wish that we weren't. It almost feels contrived, like someone concocted this to make us all mad at each other, to distract us from probably something else that might be happening that might be way more important than just a bunch of drag queens half naked at the Olympic Games. But I don't know. What do you think? If you have missed it, people are calling it painfully woke. On Friday evening in the French capital, the show was directed by artist Thomas Jolly. Jolly, who is a gay man himself, said the intention of the show wasn't to be subversive, nor to mock or to shock, but rather to send a message of love, a message of inclusion, and not at all divide. I wonder if he would have made fun of any other religions that way. Maybe some that were not as peaceful. I digress. The population doesn't agree with him. Some are saying it's a blatant mockery of the Christian story, the Last Supper, which, to be fair, that painting is not a religious piece of painting. It is supposed to be secular, and I am always an advocate for freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and that includes being able to make fun of religion. So, do I think it belongs at the Olympics for the world to see? No, that seems pretty aggressive and unnecessary, especially because you have so many kids that are watching the program and trying to see examples and aspirations and, what do I want to be when I grow up? What's possible? What can the human body do? All of these things that are really miraculous. And no, we have some guys' balls hanging out at the Last Supper. This seems very unrelated. It seems very unrelated. People around the world are shocked to see Jesus Christ and the apostles played by men in drag, with one of them exposing his testicles throughout a part of the performance. Well, obviously, yeah, that is shocking. The French Catholic Church's Bishop Conference expressed disappointment over what they said were scenes mocking Christianity. They added, "Our hearts go out to the Christians everywhere who were hurt by the offensive and provocative scenes." I think you have to not care. I saw there's this girl on Twitter. I used to follow her and then I realized she is not someone that I want to follow for my own mental well-being, but I think she goes by Syrian Girl, and she said as a Muslim, she doesn't understand how Christians tolerate this. To which the comment section wasn't very nice, because it's like, what are you suggesting? Like, the Christians are about forgiveness and peace and love. They're not really the violent religion. There's not many of those left out there. So for her as a Muslim, it was confusing. To me, I say to the Christians, just water off a duck's back. It's art. People mock things. People try to be provocative. Don't give it your attention. Don't give it your peace. I think there's a really weird agenda, especially there was a little girl in there too. So you have all these drag queens, half naked men. One guy's balls are hanging out, and then there's a little girl at the table. It's like, why do you have to incorporate that? It's just, there used to be a time and place where drag queens were allowed to express their freaky selves, and that was in a dive bar that you had to get into with an ID. And then that's great. I love a good drag show. I actually snuck into one. It was 21 and up. I snuck into one when I was 19, and I had the best time. And we were just throwing dollars, and I was like, these people are amazing. And I love that. I love people being able to throw their freak flag up and express themselves. But it's like context, right? Context. It's not for the kids. How's that a crazy thing to say? This is where we are. It's just not for the kids. I have no problem with a guy dressed like a woman, or a guy saying he's a woman, or a half-naked blue genie on a table, which we're going to get into those lyrics because they're amazing. I have no issue with any of this. I have an issue with it at the Olympics. I have an issue with a kid being at the table. I think that's so simple, right? So just, come on, context, people. What's also really interesting, I thought, with the opening ceremony, which I guess they've kind of been a platform for some kind of statement for a long time. I didn't know this. I don't really watch the Olympics, but that's what I've heard is it's kind of been woke for a while, which whatever, it's fine. I don't pay attention anyways. But you would think that it's gonna be demonstrating, like, all of these athletes and these really rigorous bodies, and, like, yeah, they all look different. You're gonna have a sprinter that looks different than a rugby player. Not saying that they all have to look like they're gonna go on Swimsuit Illustrated, but I'm saying they're gonna look athletic. And then you have the main focal piece is this woman with this halo, and she's holding a little heart sign. What's her sport? What is she competing in? This is the athletics. This is not about inclusion. Like, these are the top performers, top human peak performers at what they do, best in the world at what they do. Some guy can shot put, some guy is going to be jumping, some lady is sprinting faster than you thought humanly possible. What is she doing? So, again, we have gotten so far away from the plot and the purpose and in the name of inclusion. And, like, that's the whole point of the Olympics. It's not inclusive, it's the best of the best. So, getting into the lyrics. So, from the plate, covered by a silver dome, arose a singing Smurf like man, completely naked with his manhood, kept secret by a vine. His name is Felipe Catrine, and he sang the song New, with the lyrics about body liberation and what the world would be like if we're naked, which, okay, sounds fine. I'm all about body liberation. Nothing's wrong with nudity. In context, not in front of the world stage, publicly, with children around. Other than that, nudity is totally fine. This is not the time or place, but let's get into the lyrics. Naked. Would there be any wars if we had stayed naked? No. Where to hide with a revolver when you're naked? Where? I know what you're thinking, but it's not a good idea. Yeah. No more rich, no more poor when we're naked. No more ugly, no more beautiful when we're naked. No more old, no more young when we're naked. No more, no more. No more women, no more men when we're naked. No more women, no more men when we're naked. No more girls, no more boys when we're naked. No more, no more. Well, first of all, when you're naked, that is when you can clearly see man or woman, beautiful or not, or young or old. Those become very obvious when naked. So this is postmodernist trash, in my opinion. It's also important to note that none of these availables are available online anymore. They are being said to be copyright infringement or taken down entirely. So obviously they know that they did something bad. They thought that everyone else was going to praise them for how artistic they were, how brave they were, how nuanced they were, and people are not impressed. So oops on them. Reactions from those who opposed. Let's see. Andrew Tate, a Muslim from Romania, from the Romanian embassy, to protest the performance in the name of Christianity. At some point, you have to stand up for your beliefs, he said to Christian Romanians at the embassy. Let's see what Tate has to say.
I believe most of you are Christians. I'm a Muslim. Yes, this is Romania, supposed to be the most Christian country in Europe. You cannot allow them to desecrate something as important as the Last Supper. There has to be a point you stand up for your beliefs. If you have something in life and you don't stand up for it, it will not last. If you have a house, you don't maintain it, it will fall down. Business, you don't work, it's gone. Relationship, you don't take care of her, she'll leave you. It's the same with religion. If you Christians don't start standing up for things, when they mock you publicly and openly, you'll have no religion left. And if you don't say, this is a Christian country and we respect Christianity, they won't respect it either. It's the end. And it's the man's job. It's the job of men to defend things. This is what a man is supposed to do. The men have to stand up and fight against these things. When they try this crap again, I expect to see you all at the next embassy, wherever it is.
You know, and so at the end of the video, it says boycott the Olympics. I guess, yeah, if you want to do that, I think where your attention goes is directly affects people's bottom lines. So I think that that's very different than cancel culture as well. So when you say something like that, when you say, well, support the things that you believe in and don't support the things that you don't, everyone's like, oh, you're a hypocrite because you're cancel culturing people. Well, that's different than actively doxing someone or going to someone's place of employment or trying to get someone fired. It's just saying, hey, I don't agree with your worldview. I'm not going to support you. I'm not going to give you my attention because attention is the most valuable thing that we have. So give your attention to things that matter. If you're trying to watch the sports because you're really into them, do that too. I don't think you should let them ruin something for you, but I'm not the one to draw the line in the sand for you. You have to decide where that is. So I actually like that video from Andrew Tate. Here's the one from Syrian Girl that I was mentioning. I'm so glad that was thrown into the notes. I'm sick of this. I'm a Muslim and I'm sick of this. Why aren't Christians doing anything? Why are you weak? What do you want us to do, Syrian Girl? What do you want us to do? Leave some space. It's just, the answer is not making people so scared that they are self-censoring either. Like, let them show themselves who they are, what they believe, how seriously they take people and their values, and then you decide to support that or don't. Neil Boylan. I'm not religious, but the French depiction of the Last Supper is blatant disrespect and incitement. Jesus is portrayed as a woman, and the disciples are transvestites. I wonder why they didn't mock Islam in a similar way. Actually, don't answer. I know why. And that's true. It would not be safe to do that. Nat says, as a French woman, I'm deeply embarrassed by this opening ceremony, and I would like to apologize to the entire world for subjecting you all to this sick farce. Don't hate us. This isn't us. This is the woke metropolitan elite. They ruin fucking everything. I like you, Nat. I do. KD, some Americans are shocked that French children took part in the drag performance at the Olympics. All French are shocked that the American children take part in active shooter drills at their school. Whoa. Whoa, that is not even like what? For some reason, everyone is subject to propaganda, and you would be shocked at what the other countries around the world make the United States look like. I have relatives that don't live in the States, and they think that there is a shooting, like an active mass shooting every 10 seconds, and that America is wildly unsafe, and this is not the case. But the way that the news is perpetuated over there about what it's like in America is just so far off. It's not even close. So I wonder if it's the same, except for like we're actually seeing kids at drag shows all over all of the time. But yeah, whoa, that's insane. Lisette Stan, this drag queen of Algerian and Romanian heritage, was kicked out of the house by her father when she was only 13 years old because she is gay, and now she's opening at the Olympics in front of the entire world. We have no choice but to stand. Conservatives can cope and seethe. I just don't understand what drag has to do with the Olympics unless we are going to have competitive drag, and I'm down. That would be a hoot. But like, let's keep that for the later segment after the littles are in bed, or like let us know when it's going to be so we can just decide whether or not we're going to have that in our house. But as of now, I did not know that drag was a competitive international sport, but I welcome it. It's going to be fierce, and the French are just really pioneering the future here. So I don't know why everyone's so mad. So what do you guys want to see? Do you want to see competitive drag internationally? I do. Pickleball is next. What new sport should we add to the Olympics to make everyone feel included? Next up on the docket, we have the MrBeast Scandal. Now, I have to admit, I have never watched a MrBeast video. I follow him on X. He is a fellow North Carolinian. That's kind of all I know about MrBeast. I saw initially he had a co-host that was in the news. I think this was last year, for leaving his family and transitioning into a trans woman. So the allegations are that Ava Chris Tyson, who recently transitioned and came out as a transgender woman, is accused of sending inappropriate messages to a minor. The accusations emerged from Prism 42's YouTube video and social media posts that alleged Tyson engaged in sexually explicit conversations with a minor known as Lava GS. These interactions reportedly began when the minor was 13 years old and continued for several years. 13. Content of the messages. The leaked messages include suggestive and explicit content, such as a reference to selling nude photos and using innuendo-laced emojis. Screenshots show Tyson responding with kiss emojis and making comments that were deemed inappropriate for a conversation with a minor. The public's response has been mixed. While some fans and supporters of Tyson have defended her, arguing that the allegations are attempts to vilify the transgender community, others call for accountability and thorough investigation. Tyson has faced backlash not only from the general public but also from the LGBT community. This is interesting because I've spoken publicly, and there is an adjacent relationship when it comes to anything that's still kind of taboo. And there is this really deep resistance to criticizing your own because you feel like it's already being scrutinized enough by the public that you don't want to add any negative weight to that conversation. So you kind of turn a blind eye. And to me, that is weak. And it's unacceptable. And if you want anyone to treat your community with respect and dignity and grace, then you have to be honest. And if you continue to perpetuate bad actors or ignore bad behavior, then no one is going to take you seriously. And I say the same thing about the porn industry. Anytime something bad happens in that industry, you hear crickets for the most part. And then anyone that speaks up gets ostracized. So the reason that no one respects you is because you don't respect yourself. If you see something wrong, say something. Say, I don't stand with this person. I don't agree with them. This is bad behavior. They should be held accountable. And when you're honest, people are going to have no choice but to respect you for that honesty. So I think the reason that you get so much disrespect and people treat you like a joke is because you're not acting with responsibility. Show up a little bit, So I clap for all those people in the community that are saying this is unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable. 13, still a child. 13 is a child. Your frontal lobe is not even close to done. Not even close to done until you're 25, and now they're saying 30. So 13, you are still a baby. And this person had a whole family, a wife and children, and left that to go do DMs with a 13-year-old, allegedly. Not someone that you want to back. And to link that to the LGBT community makes no sense. That has nothing to do with being a pedophile. Like, you're a pedophile, you're a monster. That has nothing to do with being gay, nothing to do with being trans. It is not sexual identity. You are a literal demon. So everyone in the community should say absolutely not. Not for us, doesn't represent us. This person's a monster. Behind bars. Denial and defense. The alleged victim, Lava GS, has publicly denied being exploited and taken advantage of by Tyson. In their statement, they accused those spreading the allegations of twisting the truth and creating a false narrative. Lava has now come out and condemned Ava for the conversations being had on the Discord server. So it sounds like initially Lava was saying nothing was inappropriate and now is changing. Is it their mind? I don't know. Is Lava non-binary? I really don't know. It looks like it's a man, but that doesn't mean anything. So let's see what Lava's tweet says, and it has almost 400,000 views so far. Based on the recent screenshots and messages, I would like to say a statement about the Discord. This was 5 or 6 years ago, and I thought I had a good memory of the situation, but I was wrong. After reading the chat logs, the stuff was inappropriate and wrong. I spoke based on my memory of the situation, and I still do not remember these conversations, but they definitely happened. These conversations should not have happened with people at that age I was at the time. I strongly condemn them. I still believe I'm not a grooming victim, but these conversations should not have happened with me and any other minor in Discord. I was a minor in the situation and not the adult influencer who shouldn't have allowed this to happen. I did not see the wrong at the time. So, and then we have a clarification piece. This is not only related to the Discord server and not any statements I have made regarding Ava Tyson when referring to the situation. I'm solely talking about the Discord server, and I stand by this. I commend MrBeast for, I commend MrBeast for taking the situation seriously and hiring a third-party investigator while also taking the appropriate actions of cutting ties with Ava. So it looks like MrBeast has fired this Ava person, which you have to, of course. And that needs to be investigated and taken very seriously. It's interesting too because there's this weird thing that can happen when you're looking back at possible inappropriate uh, inappropriate encounters or relationships, and you have the adult mind going back and you're like, "Oh, I was so mature though, and I pursued it, and I was really old for 17, or I was really old for 13, and I was also like, it's this weird way to kind of protect yourself from really feeling how bad something was at the time. Again, it's just not okay. Even if you're the most mature 13-year-old on the planet, you have no business talking to an adult in these charged ways, these sexually charged ways. It's totally inappropriate. The power dynamic is off. There's an uh, age of consent for a reason. You cannot make really big choices like sleeping with an adult until you are an adult. It's just not okay. So to say like I wasn't groomed, like yes, you absolutely were. Whenever you're ready to come to terms with that, I'm sure you can find like a great therapist, find a good psychedelic facilitator, but you absolutely were groomed. You were a child. You have an adult having a strategic sexual conversation with you, and you are a minor. That is being groomed. They don't want to be your friend. He's a whole ass adult and had a whole ass family and children. That conversation is inappropriate, and that is grooming. Just grooming. Following the allegations, Tyson departed the MrBeast crew and all things MrBeast. She also deleted all her past tweets from her account. MrBeast also said he was parting with Ava and strongly condemned her actions. Over the past few days, I've become aware of the serious allegations of Ava Tyson's behavior online, and I'm disgusted and opposed to such unacceptable acts. During that time, I've been focused on hiring an independent third party to conduct thorough investigations to ensure I have all the facts. That said, I've seen enough online and take immediate action to remove Ava from the company, my channel, and any associations with MrBeast. I do not condone or support any of the inappropriate actions. I will allow independent investigators the necessary time to conduct a comprehensive investigation and will take any further actions based on their findings. And yeah, this is exactly the right thing to do. The better thing to do would have been to taken everyone seriously when something looked afoot when this person transitioned really late into life. So typically, most professionals will say if someone actually has gender dysphoria, those signs start showing up very early and they are persistent and consistent. So, when it happens really late in life, it usually tends to be something else. And when that happens, I think that if you have a channel that is geared towards children, it's your responsibility to take that seriously and not just to have this blind empathy and total social acceptance for absolutely everything because you don't want to be criticized and seen as someone who's any kind of like bigot or ist or whatever. It's like there's something a little fishy about this. Like, shocking. This person transitioned late in life, left their entire family. They turned out to be a predator too? Yeah. Shocked. I'm shooketh. And then lastly, we have Ava Tyson's tweet themselves with 53 million views. I would like to apologize for any of my past behavior or comments. It is if I hurt or offended anyone, it was not my intent. Seeing recent events, we've mutually decided it's best I permanently step away from all things MrBeast and social media to focus on my family and my mental health. Oh, now you want to focus on your family and your mental health? Well, guess what? Those things are not doing so well right now. I mean, if this is true and then evidence stacks up, I want to see this person behind bars. I want to see this person behind male bars because you are a predator, and the last thing you need to do is go into a women's jail and then hurt somebody else because your mind is broken. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else anyone needs. You have a full-blown conversation with a 13-year-old. How is that not evidence that you are have what would that would be like endangering a minor? If it's not acted on, I'm not really sure. So next, if you were living under a rock and you somehow missed the conversation between Jordan Peterson and Elon Musk, there's a clip going around that is really devastating, especially if you're a parent. And Elon Musk talks about having his dead son Xavier, and that was shocking when I heard that, because I know he lost a baby earlier on, but I figured it would have been public knowledge if he lost another child. And he goes on to explain how his son transitioned into a girl. And during an interview with Peterson, he is very vulnerable, and he explains his mission to defeat the quote woke mind virus, because in his words, they killed his son, because figuratively speaking, it's dead naming, because that child is dead and now they're something else, and everything that you kind of thought they were and who they were going to be is kind of washed away and turned into this other thing. He explains that he was misled into consenting to puberty blockers for his child, which he referred to as sterilization drugs, which is true. And the pushback that I've seen online is people saying that these drugs are reversible, and there's going to be no long-term consequences. It doesn't affect fertility or sexual function. It doesn't permanently affect your voice. All of that's not true. If you just take the time to look at any detransitioner and their experience, a lot of times their voice is permanently affected. Certain features will be permanently affected. Their fertility will be permanently affected, and then their sexual function will be permanently affected. And because of that, I don't understand how we are allowing minors to do this. The rest of the world has hit the brakes. They say something is wrong here. This is not the right decision for children. There's an age of consent for a reason. Circling back to the importance of that, you can't get a cigarette or a tattoo. You can't smoke weed. You can't have alcohol. You can't join the armed services. You can't get married. There's like a lot of those things I just named are pretty inconsequential. You have one cigarette, it's not the end of the world. You have one drink, it's not the end of the world. You get married, you can get a divorce. You get a tattoo, you can get that removed. So a lot of these things there are solutions for. Some of them might leave a little bit of a mark, right? Like you're going to have a scar from the tattoo. Hormone therapy is no joke. No joke. And one of those drugs is Lupron. And when I found that out, I almost fell into my seat. So when I was 19, I had really severe endometriosis. Like I would look 8 or 9 months pregnant, my swelling would be so bad. I was in a 9 or a 10 on in pain constantly. Walking was hard, breathing was hard. I was exhausted. I could not have sex because it was so painful, and I just felt like I was dying. So I had a laparoscopy. They took out what they could of the endometrial tissue. Anyone that has had an endometriosis knows that usually comes back, and it'll come back other places. So that didn't really work long term. So I was 19, and again, like, so I talk all the time about moving the age of consent for certain things to 25, because I still think 18, 19, you're not even close to being done. Again, new research is saying your frontal lobe isn't done till 25 or 30. So 18, there's still a lot missing here when it comes to executive function and making long-term decisions and making them well. I was offered Lupron as part of a clinical study to help with endometriosis. And what that did is put me into menopause. So I was at 19 years old and I was in chemically induced menopause. My joints hurt. They were the achiest. It felt like I was getting arthritis. My skin started to dry up, and it started to age. Everything down there also got dried up. I had zero sexual function while I was on the medication. I would have my shot and be zapped for days. For days. I had no energy. I could barely get up. And when they deliver the medicine, this was at the time at least, they deliver it on ice, and they give you a sign for your door, and it was this bright yellow sign, and I'll never forget it. And you put it on your door, and it says, "I might be too sick to answer the door. Please leave the medication." And that's how sick this medicine can make you. I had no idea. I just went in, they're like, "This is gonna make you feel better." Got a shot in the butt from the doctor, and it just wrecked me. And there ended up being a class action lawsuit from this clinical trial with the women, because people were experiencing bone loss. They were having issues with their fertility. They were having issues with their hormones. They were having issues getting their period back. They were having issues with their joints, hair falling out. it got really gnarly. So there was literally a class action lawsuit. So to pretend this drug has no consequence and we can just give it to a minor because they have gender dysphoria, possibly, and I say possibly because now in a lot of states it's not required to even look into that. We just have to affirm, and it's life-saving affirmative care. So we're not even properly assessing these individuals to see if they actually have gender dysphoria. We're just affirming because people don't want to lose their license, and then we're haphazardly giving them a drug that could ruin the rest of their life for something that they might grow out of. And according to some research, a 90% chance that they will grow out of it post puberty. So this is crazy. And I think it was really brave and really brilliant that he was willing to be so vulnerable and share his personal story as a parent, and as a parent that says it seems like he made the wrong decision because he was pressured and given false information from medical doctors. And I think one of the great things that has happened since COVID is so many people are waking up that just because someone has a white jacket doesn't mean you trust them, doesn't mean they know what they're talking about, doesn't mean that they did their own research. It just means that they went to medical school, they're good at passing tests, and they know something in one specialized area. And they're probably getting paid on the back end from a couple people. So always do your own research. Always read up on drugs and side effects and healthy alternatives, natural alternatives. Also look at the benefits. I'm not saying that there's not benefits to modern medicine, but I'm saying we have been on this rat wheel of this is the only way to get better, is a prescription, is a drug, and it's not all of these other things. And it's not looking at the root cause of a lot of these problems, and then we wonder why we're so sick and we're not getting better. So you have to be your own advocate and take your health into your own responsibility, because no one else is going to do better research than you are, than a sick person. If you know anyone that has been chronically ill, that patient, that mama, that papa, no one knows anything more than that family, because they are in the thick of it and they're trying to get better. And oftentimes they're more privy to cutting edge research and alternatives than doctors themselves, because a lot of them are overworked and they're part of the system where they're supposed to see someone for 15 minutes and move on. Cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. So I love seeing the dissent. I love seeing people questioning authority and people questioning the quote professionals. And I think that Elon sharing this story is huge. And anyone that has anything negative to say about it, it's like, how dare you? It's his story. It's his story, and he's a father, and he's sharing something that's really painful for the benefit of other people. So I think it's beautiful, and I commend him. I wish Jordan would have let him talk a little bit more, because it was obviously a very emotional story, and Jordan just like kept adding his 2 cents and kind of walking on it, and it would have been a lot more powerful if Elon was just allowed to talk. It's Elon, let him run. Like, take the bridle off. Musk also mentioned that his daughter legally changed her name and gender in 2022, and since then has distanced herself from him. That's unfortunate, and hopefully they come around. Musk's remarks have sparked significant debate and controversy, highlighting the ongoing tensions around the issue of gender identity and medical intervention for transgender youth. His vow to destroy the woke mind virus underscores his commitment to opposing these practices and advocating for more stringent control and regulations. Duh. Yes. Every sane country is doing that right now. For some reason, we've made a decision and we don't want to say, oops, maybe this should slow down, pause, break, and let's look at some of the data. Let's see what's actually happening here. Musk added that Xavier was actually born gay and autistic. Both of those things, it has been shown in Abigail Schreier's work and Deborah So's work that a lot of these misdiagnoses that happen early on can happen from people that are on the spectrum, because they tend to get obsessed, especially with this idea of gender. And also that 90% of the kids that are experiencing some kind of discomfort are actually just gay. 90%. So to me, like, it's the most homosexual thing in the world is to say you can't be gay. You're not gay, you're actually just the other gender. So that doesn't make sense. I would figure that a lot of the gay community would actually be pretty upset about that, because you're mutilating people for being gay, essentially. So Vivian Jenna Wilson, formerly known as Xavier, is challenging these comments online, saying that her estranged father is making up these stories. I would believe the father in this case. Latest on the presidential election. Switching gears, Kamala Harris is all but the official nominee for the Democratic Party. And to add a note, all of you are talking about the 12th Amendment. No shit. I'm not saying it's going to be Kamala and Newsom. My prediction from last week is that somehow Kamala is going to be pushed to the side. Newsom is going to run for president, and we'll see who's VP. Maybe Buttigieg. I have no idea. But I understand. I know that Newsom and Kamala cannot be on the same ticket. That did not escape me. I'm saying I think Newsom is going to weasel and grease his way in to the top of the ticket, and Kamala is going to be old news. We'll see. It's still early. We still have a couple months to go. The Obamas endorsed her in a proud produced campaign in the video where Kamala receives a totally not planned call or scripted call from Barack and Michelle and has a very candid moment. Kamala is seen wearing a mic and the phone is to her ear while the call is on speaker. Much like a presidential run, this video makes absolutely no sense. Trump says he won't commit to a debate until Kamala is confirmed as the Democratic nominee. That makes sense because this whole thing is super fishy. Trump wants Fox to host a debate in September instead of the Disney-owned network ABC, but is willing to debate Kamala regardless who hosts it. He said he's willing to have more than one debate. Okay, cool. Let's do that. There was also that news that broke recently. So by Saturday, July 20th, former President Barack Obama was deeply involved, and there would be a call to Biden. It was not clear whether Biden had been examined for what just happened to him in Vegas. The big three, the official said, referring to the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senate Majority Leader Charles Schumer, and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, continued to be directly involved. On Sunday morning, the official told Seymour Hersh, with the approval of Pelosi and Schumer, Obama called Biden after breakfast and said, "Here's the deal. We have Kamala's approval to invoke the 25th Amendment. The amendment provides that when the president is determined by the vice president and others to be unfit to carry the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall assume those duties." On Monday, July 15th, Biden took off on Air Force One on a campaign trip to Nevada, a toss-up state where Biden won in 2020 by a little more than 30,000 votes. On Tuesday, he gave the keynote address to 5,000 members of the NAACP at its annual convention. The next day, the president, apparently stricken while campaigning with a yet-to-be-revealed illness, broke from his schedule and made a police escort race to Air Force One after initially telling police they were heading to the nearest emergency room. A series of blog posts, local police reports, internet messages, and a report from the Daily Mail disclosed further details of Biden's trip to Las Vegas and his abrupt return home to Delaware. Seymour Hersh reviewed these reports this week with a senior official in Washington who helped him fashion an account of the White House in a complete disarray, culminating in the president's withdrawal from the race. It's a story unlike 7 Days in May, the Cold War thriller in which a colonel played by Kirk Douglas foils a coup staged by a general played by Burt Lancaster. None of which you read below comes from an official account by the White House. This was by Amuse, AMUSE, and then Brett Weinstein retweeted it and said, if Hersh's claim is true, then Kamala Harris should be impeached. To use the 25th Amendment as a threat is a violation of her oath of office. Either the president is unfit in her eyes and leaving him in office is reckless, or he is fit and the threat is an abuse of power. Amen, Brett Weinstein. So it seems like this has all been kind of planned for much longer than we are being led on. But it's fine. You know, the threat to democracy is definitely the bad orange man, and it's not these other people that are just trying to pick the next president in front of our eyes without anyone's vote. And that's all I have for you this week. Next week, who knows, on the season finale of America Now and the World Now. It's just going to be crazier with more extreme cliffhangers. Leave that 5-star review. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week. Stay safe, everybody.